We have a great warm-up brought to us by the wonderful, the fabulous Hannah Nelson. So let's take it over to Hannah and see how she's going to get us ready for today's class.
Hello, my name is Hannah Nelson, and I will be helping lead you in warm-ups for acting for film. Now, for acting, it's very important that you both warm up your body and your mind before jumping into instruction or performance. Warm-ups, of course, help to strengthen your mind and warm up your body and protect your voice from any potential strain that could happen. So we're going to begin with a quick mind strengthening warm-up. Very simple, no need to worry. So what you're going to need for this exercise is some space. So anything like a way that you can stretch out your arms in a comfortable area. I know you can't see my arms fully. I'll move back a little bit. Just a place where you can extend your arms out in a comfortable place. Once you're there, we are simply going to be moving our arms in 4 different positions. So I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to be using for this exercise first my right hand. You can choose to mirror me or you can use the opposite arm. Either one works. So we're going to take our arm and we're going to move it up to first position, which is just straight up. So we're going from neutral to first position with our arm. And then we're going to move that arm into second position, which is out to the side of us. Third position, we're flipping our hand and moving our arm. It folds over until it reaches the middle of our chest. And then finally, fourth position, our elbows pointing down until our arm, is right next to us. So let's do that again. We're in neutral pose. And we're going to move our arm all the way up to the sky in first position, out to second, flip and into third, finally fourth position. Let's try that without me calling them positions. So we'll just do it rhythmically. Here we go. Up. One more time. Up, out, in, and good job. Let's try that with this arm now. Same thing, just a different arm. Ready? And up to first position, out to second, into third, down to fourth. One more time. Up, out, in, and you guessed it, down. Both arms now. We're doing the same thing, nothing special, what we've been doing from the beginning, just both arms. So here we go. Up, out, in, and down again. Up, out, in, and down. Okay, once you've got that mastered, we're going to do something a little bit more complicated in which one arm is always going to be one beat behind the other arm. I'll show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to take my first arm, I'm using my right, again you can use whatever arm you want. I'm going to take my right arm and go ahead and move it into first position. Now, when I said one beat behind the other arm, I really did mean one beat behind the other arm. So as my first arm is extended into first position, my other arm's just waiting until he can finally also go up into first position. In order for that to happen, my first arm needs to move into second position. As this motion is happening, my other arm is going up to first. I'm starting to look a little bit like a clock. So my second arm is in second position, or my first arm is in second position, my second arm is in first position. Now I'm going to go ahead and fold this one into third as this one's falling into second. So this arm is just following whatever this arm is doing again. Finally, fourth position, and this one's moving into third position. And instead of stopping here and dropping this arm, because it's done all the positions now, we're actually going to have it go right back up into first position again, because this one still needs to make it down to here, okay? So my right arm is going back up to first, and this arm is going down into fourth. From then on, with a little bit of practice, you're going to start to be able to move your arms until they are truly a beat behind the other. Don't worry if you can't do this at first. It is quite difficult. But if you get it, you can do it tons of time until it just becomes like a funky dance. So let's try that one more time and then we'll move on. So again, we're going to start with this arm and our other arm will be down here. Here we go. Up, up, in, and then up again. Good job. Perfect. Now, the second thing that we're going to be doing is warming up our faces, and we're going to do this in two different ways. The first way may seem a little bit funny, but we're actually going to be massaging our faces. That's right. In this warm-up, you're going to get a nice massage that you are giving yourself on your face with your hands. So, the way you're going to do this, there's no special way. It doesn't matter if you look ridiculous, because I'm looking ridiculous doing this right now, so it's okay. No one's looking. Well, you guys are looking at me. Massaging, goodness, your face, your cheeks. My jaw tends to be very, very tense, so I massage my jaw a little bit, give that a little love. Move up. It's nice. It's a little bit of self-care during the warm-up. Very relaxing. Perfect. All right, and once you've done that, the next thing we're going to be doing is stretching and shrinking our face. Something that's really important for acting is facial expressions. And normal facial expressions in everyday life, unless you're a very dramatic person, can tend to be a little bit understated. And on stage, that does not always translate. So we want to always try our best to overpronounce, overemphasize the expressions that we make. And this exercise is going to be great in helping you to make your face either really big or really small, depending on the emotion that you're trying to portray. So this is called lion and mouse. So for this one, we're going to make a big lion face. And what that means is really opening up the eyes and the mouth and just making yourself really big. And to help with this, we're also going to use our bodies, because our bodies are really helpful in showing the emotion just as much as our faces. So for lion, we're going to make everything about ourselves really, really big, like this. Or you can make a roaring noise, rah, until everything is very extended and very loud and very pronounced. Rah! Perfect. Now the next one is going to be the opposite of that, mouse. Now with mouse, you want to almost pretend like there's a little black hole right on your nose and everything's being just sucked into that one little point. So everything becomes very scrunched, and your face and your body all just become very teeny tiny, as if you're imagining yourself as a little mouse. Perfect. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Now, for some alternates, we can do things like making our face a lion face, but our bodies a mouse body, which would look something like this. How about you try it with me? So we're making a mouse body with a lion face. Two very contrasting emotions, but at the same time. Here we go. Lion face, mouse body. Ready, go. I feel like I look very evil when I do that. Or just crazy. I don't know. On the opposite side of the spectrum, let's do a lion body with a mouse face. Let's try it together. Ready, and if you're doing it enough, you can almost feel your muscles strain a little bit in your face and in your body because of how overextended you are and how scrunched up you are in your face. So those are really good exercises in order to just warm up everything right here and get ready to speak clearly, which is the next part of our exercise, tongue twisters. We're going to work on articulation. Now, articulation is simply the formation of clear and distinct sounds in speech. So we're going to try something very similar or very simple. Red leather, yellow leather. I'm sure this is a very familiar tongue twister to you, but we're not simply just going to say red leather, yellow leather. We're going to overpronounce these words. We're going to move our mouth in a bigger way than we normally would for these words in order to really communicate what we're saying, make sure everybody else knows what we're saying. Let's try it out. Red leather, yellow leather is our phrase. Let's try it together. Red leather, yellow leather. Red leather, yellow leather. Red leather, yellow leather. I look really weird because my mouth is moving in such an exaggerated form, but it really does help when those words are tripping you up, is to clearly speak them. That will help with your line delivery. Let's try another one. Irish wristwatch. Now this one is very in your face and scrunched up. Irish wristwatch. Use the way your face feels when you say these words to your advantage. Understanding the rhythm and feel of these words in your speech can greatly improve the clarity in your delivery. Let's try this one a few times. Irish wristwatch. Here we go. Irish wristwatch. Irish wristwatch. Irish wristwatch. Irish wristwatch. That one's a little bit tough. Saying that very quickly can be difficult, but I challenge you to try it. So for these last two tongue twisters, we will focus on clarity, rhythm, and add a bit of acting. Inflection can also help with delivery on those tough sentences that can trip us up. Things like emphasizing a certain part of the word or a specific rhythm. For these next tongue twisters, don't be afraid to experiment with how you might deliver these lines in order to help you clearly say them. And how would you actually act these lines on stage? How would you do that? So I'm going to teach you a little bit longer tongue twister, and it goes like this. Thomas Tattertoot took taut twine to tie 10 twigs to 2 tall trees. Very difficult. A lot of t. So it's very, very helpful if you take this one very slowly. So Thomas Tattertoot took taut twine to tie 10 twigs to 2 tall trees. So, in order to help you learn this, I'm going to say it in a very dramatic way, and I'm going to take it very slowly. And this is to teach you that taking it slowly and emphasizing those words really helps you to memorize the tongue twister, one, deliver it clearly, and also have fun with what you're saying, because it is a funny line. Thomas Tattertoot tied 10 twigs to 2 tall trees. I messed up the warm-up a little bit, but we'll stick with the shorter one. So, Thomas Tattertoot tied 10 twigs to 2 tall trees. And you can say that line any way you want, but the idea is that you are switching it up. You are saying it in a way that makes you feel most comfortable with the line. The last one is also probably familiar. The big black bug bit the big black bear, and the big black bear bled blood. Blah, 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 blah. That's really what we're hearing in this tongue twister. Same thing, using your inflection, using your articulation to really say that clearly, and also say it in a way that's interesting to the ear that helps you deliver the line. The big black bug bit the big black bear, and the big black bear bled blood. So saying the words like and and a big black bear and big black bug, saying those in different ways really can help separate those sentences and help you to deliver them as easily and as clearly as possible. Well, these are some helpful warm-ups that will set you up for success to begin your class. I hope that you were able to get properly warmed up, and I wish you all the best as you begin your classes. See you soon.
Welcome back to Acting for Camera. I'm excited that you've decided to join me again today. This is going to be a two-part class. We're going to do the first half today. Part 2 will come tomorrow. Today we're going to be looking at acting for the camera based on scripts and script analysis and how that can inform our choices. So we're going to look at all the different things that we can do to analyze the script, to break it down and pull it apart. We're also going to look at what we need to do as the actor, how we use what's on the script, but also what isn't there to inform our choices. And then how do we make strong choices? What is it that we need to do to make dynamic, engaging moments and find those truthful moments? How can we find that stuff in the script? And if it's not in the script, how do we come up with that ourselves? If we think of acting kind of like building a house, as the actor, we are the construction worker. We're the person who sits there and it goes, okay, this is what we're going to put in place here, this is what we're going to put in place here, this is the person here that we need to use and how we're going to use that. The director is like the foreman. He's the person in charge of everything, overseeing what's going on, making sure everything's going at the right speed, the right time, everybody's doing their job. The script writer is like the architect, or the person who makes the plans for the house. So as we're looking as the actor at the script, we need to know that we're actually looking at the blueprint for what we get to do. Our choices, our information, our character that we built is all based on the foundation of that script, all based on what is in that script, in the writing, in the descriptions of the scenes, in what the other characters say about us and what we say about other characters, what we say about ourselves. Everything is there in the script. For us as the actor, it's important to be able to think before we act so that we can then act before we think. So that means that we're actually looking at the script as a whole, we're going through, we're analyzing it, we're dissecting it, we're pulling bits and pieces out so that we can go ahead and make informed decisions. Once we make those informed decisions and we know what it is we're working toward, we're then able to actually switch off that part of our brain because we've done all of that foundational work and we can purely listen to our instincts and just make choices that come in the moment. Looking at the script is kind of like looking for clues in what the writer has already decided about the character and decided about the story and the direction that it's going and how it could be played and how it could be approached. But as the actor, we also get to listen to our instincts. So if we've done all of the foundational work, we're able to build upon that. If we know what happens underneath that story, underneath that script, that's that line, we've done all of this detail work underneath. Once we sit here, we can play with whatever we want that happens on top because this stuff will stay consistent and it will give us the depth of the performance that we need. So part of what we're going to be talking about today when we're looking at script analysis is looking at the choices that we get to make as an actor. This is a word that you'll hear a lot. Choices. We always want an actor that can make strong choices, make dynamic choices, make engaging choices. But what is a choice? Sometimes it can be hard to actually identify what that word means. So that's what we're going to do real quick right now. You might hear people say that acting talent is in the choices you make and the clarity and the execution of those choices. So everybody can act. Everybody can grab a script and read the lines and say it and know that there has to be emotion behind it. Everybody can be told the same blocking. You need to walk down stage. You need to cross in front of that chair. You need to sit down. You need to stand up and cross behind the character. Everybody can do that stuff. But what everybody can't do is make the choices that you make and execute them the same way. And when we're looking at these great performances of people who have won Oscars, they've made strong dynamic choices and their execution and the clarity of that choice is what sets them apart. They have decided something, they've gone after what it is they've decided, whether they've gone after pursuing their objective, whether it's fighting against their obstacle, whether it's their action or their tactic. those things that they've chosen to focus on in that scene, that's what they go after, 100% commitment. They have the freedom to actually make different choices, to say, okay, let me try and do something a little different. I still want the same objective, but let me try a different tactic. Those choices are what makes their performance stand out from everybody else. And that's what we want, is we want to be actors who can make strong, informed choices that are based in the script, that are foundational to what is already on that page, but we then take and we build upon as the actor, because that's our job. We don't just take what's surface level, we dig down and we build up from that baseline of the script. Choices will help you see the range and the potential of what's possible in that scene, and it comes from both what is in the script and what isn't in the script, which leads us into, well, how do we actually analyze the script? What are the things that we're looking for? And if we don't find it in the script, how do we then figure that out in our own life as the character? So the different things that we can do when we're looking at analyzing a script is looking at the given and imaginary circumstances. It's important for us to look at the character's objective. What is it they want in that scene, in that line, in that show, that screenplay, or that script? What are the obstacles that they're facing? What actions and tactics do they choose to employ to get what they want and to overcome that obstacle? We can look at how the atmosphere and the environment, the setting, can actually influence what the character is saying and how they're feeling and what they're experiencing in that moment. We also have a look at the relationship to the other characters in that scene and how does that influence what we say, what we do, how we do it. We look at subtext, the meaning underneath the lines. You have a surface level line, but what do you actually mean when you say that? What are you not saying as you're saying that line? We're also going to look at the beats, the different beats in a line, the pauses that happen, but actually the overall beats in a scene. When is there a change of thought? When is there a change of mood? When is there a change of action or tactic, or a new obstacle presents itself? And what does that mean for us as the actor as we're playing that scene? We look at text analysis, so what's actually written on the page and how is it written? We look at the sentence structure, we look at the word choice, we look at the punctuation, we look at the rhythm, the patterns of the language, and we dissect all of that text so that we have informed decisions on how to speak it and what does that make us feel as we're saying these lines and as we're doing effort to actually produce these sounds and these words. How are we feeling about that? And finally, we look a little bit at additional research. What other additional research do we need to do to make an informed decision or make an informed choice when we're approaching that scene or that moment? Obviously, script analysis is something that as an actor you will do regardless of whether you're on stage or on the screen. The script is the same thing that you're going to see both places. It's always going to be the foundation, it's always going to be the base of the story. And everybody who works on a film or works on a television show or works on a play, they all build everything that we see as the audience off that script. So it's important for us to understand scripts, but there are some differences between a stage play and a screenplay, and it's important for us as actors to know, okay, what is it that a stage play is going to tell us? What is it that a screenplay is going to tell us? And how do those two things influence each other? In a stage play, the primary tool is the dialogue. What do you hear? In a screenplay, however, the primary tool is the action. What do you see happening? A lot of the times what might be revealed to the audience is not going to be revealed through a line or through a dialogue. It's actually going to be revealed through action, a specific close-up, a specific shot or camera angle. So we need to make sure we pay attention to what is being shown, what action there is in a screenplay versus a stage play, which is very much based on the dialogue and what information is revealed by characters at different points in time. So what we're looking at right now is just a copy of one of the first pages of the Ocean's 11 script. So this is a full screenplay. It is a movie. You can go and watch the movie if you haven't already. I recommend seeing it. It's quite interesting. But we're going to look at what this looks like. A lot of us are very familiar with stage scripts, stage plays. So we're going to actually focus on the screenplay and what does it tell us that we need to know. So first of all, what you'll notice when you're looking at this is the layout is totally different. When you're looking at a stage play, oftentimes everything will be flush to the left. It's going to always be justified left. There is a lot of scene description right at the beginning of the scene. You'll have a long paragraph kind of outlining what the setting is, what the mood is, the atmosphere, what's going on, because we want to be able to create that visual image for the artistic director or for the set designer and the lighting designer, so they know what needs to go into creating the atmosphere for that moment. When you're looking at a film, you usually don't have that much detail in the scene description. What you will see at the very beginning of that scene is what we call a slug line, or a scene heading or a scene caption. So in this slug line, you will have interior or exterior, and they'll be abbreviated. That tells us, does the camera need to be inside or outside? You'll have the actual location. This can be generalized, like Wyoming or in a park, or it could be very specific, like Billy's bedroom, the kitchen of grandma's house. And the final part of the slug line is the time of day, whether it's day or night. You don't need to get as specific with this part, but it will tell you whether it's going to be sometime in the day, sometime at night, and it creates that atmosphere for everybody. So the director knows, do we need to do a day shoot or a night shoot for this? And the actor knows, am I playing this at day or at night? Because that will also influence your decision and the choices that you make in that scene. All film scripts, all screenplays will be written in Courier font 12 point. This is industry standard. Anything other than that often comes across just as amateurish or as inexperienced or unprofessional. So the next part you'll see is the action line. This is where you have description of what's happening. So this is just about action. It is not about things that the audience can't see. It might describe what a character is doing. It might describe the setting. It might say a bustling mall, many people moving in the background. It might say character picks up their coffee and walks out of the shop. It's always going to be simple present tense description of the action, of what is happening and what can be seen in that moment before the dialogue begins. Action never describes what the character's thinking, and it also usually doesn't include the technical details of the camera shots or angles. That comes later in what's called a technical script. Often when you're just reading a script for the first time, you'll be reading the spec script, so what they've actually written to get the story produced, to get the movie up and running. And later, before shooting happens, you'll have the technical script where it'll outline what the camera shot is, what the angle is, and all of the details for the crew. But usually as the actor, you might just get a copy of the spec script to start with, and then you can ask somebody all those details later on that are more technical. So something obviously very different between a screenplay and a stage play is how the dialogue is laid out. In a stage play, the dialogue will be flushed left to the left-hand side. In a screenplay, it's always going to be justified in the center. You'll have the character title in all caps at the top. This is usually indented an additional inch to inch and a half from the edge of the dialogue. And then straight underneath that, you will have the dialogue that starts. The dialogue will be additionally indented on both sides. So on the left side, it's an inch to an inch and a half to make sure that you have room for those 3-point bindings. And then on the right-hand side, it'll be roughly an inch to an inch and a half again. And that just keeps all the dialogue center. Just quickly, for those of you who might be interested in writing screenplays, there is a program called Final Draft. And this is a program that you can purchase and download onto your computer. And it is industry standard. So you can go ahead and start typing in there. It tells you everything you need to include. It breaks it down into what type of script are you writing. It also breaks it down into, are you writing a spec script or are you writing the text script? Most times, like I said, you'll start with a spec script, but Final Draft does help you write everything as properly and professionally as you can. So if you were to hand your screenplay to a producer or to try and get a budget for it, you have a professional play that you can actually put forward. It's not just you typing on a Word document and printing it out however you want. You are following industry standards of the indentations in the margins, the font size, where information is, how much information you need in there. Everything is done for you in Final Draft. This is not an ad, I'm just letting you know it is something that you can use to your advantage if you're interested in writing screenplays. All right, so let's get into having a look at what we need when we're looking at the choices that we can make, when we're analyzing the script to determine or inform the decisions that we make as the actor. The first thing that we can look at are our given circumstances. So the given circumstances, if you've studied any of Stanislavski's methods of acting or techniques and approaches, then you will have heard about this before. It's very much grounded in what is in the script and keeps you connected to the script, connected to the story, and connected to these key details that the writer wants you as the actor to know. So when we're looking at given circumstances, it's asking questions and finding the answers in the script. They are given to you. These are the circumstances that the writer has actually put in there for you to help you out. Some of the questions we can ask are, who am I? What time is it? Where am I? Who is the person I'm talking to? What is my job? What is my profession? When we answer these questions, we want to be as detailed and as specific as we possibly can. So as we're going through just looking at given circumstances, we're going to look for things like my name, my age, my race, my gender. Do I have any hobbies? Is there anybody that I'm related to in this scene, in this play, in this screenplay? Are there any characters that I like or dislike? Who am I in this moment? All of that information should be coming straight from the script. If you can't answer one of those questions or you can't be specific about that, we'll get to that with imaginary circumstances in just 1 second. When we're looking at what time is it, again, be specific. What time of day? What time of the hour? What time of year is it? What season is it? How does this influence your character? Do they have seasonal allergies? And if it's a scene happening outside when allergy season's happening, it's going to be played very differently to a scene in the middle of winter when there's no allergies or when they're freezing cold. What is the weather like? What kind of time or space are we in? Are we in a natural time and space, or are we actually outside the confines of time and space? Is this a sci-fi movie where we're looking at the quantum realm or we're time traveling? All of those answers will inform the decisions that you make as the actor. Where am I? We ask the question of what country am I in? What state am I in? What city am I in? What part of that city am I in? What house am I in? Am I in a house? Is this a house that's mine? Is this somebody else's house? Is it a stranger's house? Am I in an office building? Is it mine? Is it close to the ground? Is it tall off the ground? Am I 4 floors up or am I 5 floors below the ground? Am I at home? If I am at home, what room am I in? What area of that room? Am I sitting in one corner in a chair? We need to be as specific as we can because all of these answers will influence our imaginary circumstances coming up next and will influence the decisions that we make. So once we've analyzed the script for given circumstances, we then need to find out the imaginary circumstances. So these are the things that the script does not tell us. These are the things that we get to decide as the actor ourselves. It's quite liberating, it's quite freeing, and it's fun to look for the imaginary circumstances, but you always need to make sure that these are rooted back in truth and are grounded in your given circumstances. You can't just say, it doesn't tell me what job I have, so I'm going to be an astronaut. Because you may be a child that's in school. Yeah, it doesn't tell you what job you have, but you're obviously not going to be an astronaut. Or maybe the given circumstances tell you that you're quite poor, so you can't just say, oh, I'm going to Harvard for college. If you're poor, you may not be able to afford Harvard unless there are scholarships available. And then that's a decision that you can go down that path if you want to, but you need to make sure your imaginary circumstances are grounded in the decisions or in the given circumstances. So there might be some things that you know from the script, like you know what job you have, you know where you live, you know how old you are, but there might be a lot of things that you don't know. You may not know, what are you good at? Are you good at your job? Do you enjoy your job? What areas of your job do you excel in? But what areas are you struggling in? What are the insecurities that come from that? When you're looking at your age, you might know I'm 12, but were you born at the beginning of the year or the end of the year? Do you feel older or more mature than the rest of the people that are your age? Or do you act younger and more immature? Do you relate better to people who are your peers? Do you relate better to people who are older than you or people who are younger than you? How do you relate to the people around you at the age that you are? If you're asking a question about what location are you in, do you like that location? Is that location busy? Is it empty? Is it quiet? Is it comfortable for you? What's the atmosphere? What's the environment? Is this something that we enjoy being in? And is it conducive to the conversation that we're having? Or does it actually pose an obstacle? Does it stop us from having a great conversation or having the ability to talk freely like we need to? All of those additional details, if they're not given to you in the script, are up to you to decide. You have to be able to answer any question that comes your way as the actor. You have to know your character, your scene, your story inside and out. And then once you know all of that information, we can start analyzing more about the objectives and the obstacles and the goals and tactics that we're going to pursue as the character. So you've heard me talk a lot about objectives, and that is because this is probably one of the most crucial, if not the most crucial parts of acting that a lot of people tend to overlook. In my opinion, if you're going to play a scene, if you have an actor and they're looking at the character, you could forget everything else. You could forget characterization. You could forget any sort of like physicalization or the way they speak or anything like that. And you could even forget the script for a point and just go after the one objective. If you can't tell me what your character wants in that moment, how are you going to play anything truthful? Everybody always wants something. Sometimes those intentions are pure and honest, sometimes they're not, but as the character, they want something. They have an objective, they have a goal in mind, and we as the actor can play and push towards that goal. There are 3 spheres that you can ask this question in. We're going to analyze each of these 3 areas, and then as the actor, our job is to sit right in the middle where all of these 3 circles overlap. We want to be right in that playing field, in that middle, looking at what does the character want in this moment, in this line, what does the character want in this scene, and what does the character want in this story as a whole. Quick note, objective statements are always written in first person. It's never Josie wanted blah, 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 or Josie wants to blah, blah, blah. If I'm Josie, I want. This makes it personal for you as the actor, and it means that you can actually take on that and you can embody that objective, that goal, very, very easily, rather than it being separated from you by making it third person. So let's start at the objective as a whole. What do we want in this play, in this story, as a whole? And this is oftentimes called our super objective or our through line. A super objective is a simple, cohesive statement that is personal, that tells the audience, what do you want in this whole story? So the audience can walk away knowing this is what they wanted. Usually when we're looking at these super objectives, we're looking at basic human instincts. To love, to be loved, to be needed, to achieve success. What are the overarching goals of my life in this story? What's the desire that I want to be able to achieve? As the actor, it's really important to just accept what the character's objective is. You should never try and force it to be something. Instead, your job as the actor is to dissect the text, dissect the script, so that when you pull out the objective, it's truthful to the character and you can then embody that truth in yourself. You don't want to come in and say, oh, well, I don't really like how they're behaving, so this is going to be their objective and we're going to work on those actions. No, if their actions and their behaviors are going after their objective, then it's truthful to that objective, and that's the objective that you have to play. You have to be truthful to the character, truthful to the writer. You have to make sure you take stuff that's directly from the script and you embody that as a person. And your objective, your super objective, will always be informed by your given and your imaginary circumstances. What do I know and what do I fill in so that this objective is the one thing that I want from beginning to end of this story? So next we have our scene objective, and this is what we want in that particular scene, in that particular moment, in that particular snapshot of the story. So if we look at the story as a whole, if we look at a film, we have all these little scenes that play out, sometimes chronologically, sometimes not, but they all give us the arc of the story. And what we want to do is we want to look at that individual scene and play for that one scene. What does my character want to achieve or obtain in this one scene? These again will always be personal statements. I want, I need, my goal is, but we always want to make sure that that objective ties into our super objective, that it's not contradictory, it's not conflicting, they will not be opposites. It's like a little mini goal that gets us to this bigger goal. It's like somebody saying, I want to be healthy, and so in this one scene, I need to drink more water. I'm going to drink more water. That's my objective. They're still in line with the super objective as a whole, but we can pull out that one scene and it stands on its own. Some examples of a scene objective might be to get you to hire me, to get you to like me, to persuade you to do what I want, to get you to understand, to get you to validate me. It's oftentimes going to be to get something from the other character. So next is called our sub-objective, and it's the objective for that particular line. Often this relates to our subtext and our intention, so we're just going to address all of those at the same time because they all give us context to what does this one line mean? What is it that this character is saying when they're saying this line? How are they saying it? What do they want? What are they going to achieve by saying this one line? So when we're looking at subtext, we're looking at what is the meaning behind what we're saying. Often it's called, what are we not saying? So if I say, hi, good morning, that's very different to, hi, good morning. Or it's very different to, hi, good morning. So all three of those, terrible examples, but all three of those have the exact same line, but the subtext, the way I said it, the tone in which I said it, the way that my body and my face told you more to the story, that's what that subtext is. That's what gives us the underneath, the depth. So the line is that surface, and then the subtext is what lies underneath. The subtext is what is not said and all about how it is said. The subtext is what gives you these strong dynamic choices. The decisions that you make that are about your objective, your obstacles, your goals and tactics and your actions, all of those things are what inform the subtext, inform how you say the line, and that's where we find these strong dynamic choices. So we always want to make sure we're looking at, what am I saying in this line? One of the techniques that I've used before is you write out your script side by side. So you have all of your lines on one page, and then next to it, what you do is you go through and write down, okay, if I say this line, what am I really meaning? If I say this line, what am I really meaning? If I say this line, what am I really meaning? So you actually go through and almost paraphrase all of your lines, so that if you took those words away from the script, you still have the intention behind every single line and the thing that you're wanting to achieve at the end of that line all together as a whole. So tactics and action words are the next things that we're going to look at. And these are the words or the ways in which the character gets what they want. How do they achieve their objective? How do they overcome the obstacle, and what are they trying to do in order to get what they want at the end of the scene or at the end of the play as a whole? But more often than not, you're going to use actions and tactics in the scene. Now, these are words that are actable verbs. So you're going to persuade somebody, you're going to convince someone, you're going to empower someone, you're going to make someone understand. You want somebody to do something. So how are you going to make that happen? That's the words that we are looking for when we're talking about tactics and action words. So these don't always have to stay the same. And each time that you do a rehearsal, when you do a self-tape at home to practice before you get to set, even when you're on set, the director might ask, let's try this a different way. You're going to keep your objective and keep your obstacle the same. They will never change. They are from the script themselves. But the tactics or the action that you take, that is what changes. And that's where choice comes into it. That's where we want to make sure we're playing with, what are we choosing to do? How are we approaching this? How are we going to get what we want? And when you need more energy in a scene, that is what you dig into. You dig into your tactic and how you want to get something. Even if it's to persuade somebody, maybe the first time you want to persuade them and it's like a sly, little manipulative persuading. Maybe the second time you do the take, it's actually more about empowering them and you're still wanting to persuade them, but the tactic is different. So an easy way to look at tactics or actions is to write down your objective, fill in the blanks in this sentence that you see here. I want to fill in the blank with an actable verb and fill in the character's name so that they will fill in the blank. And then you say, and I am willing to blank, blank, blank in order to achieve this. As you fill in all of these words, they're going to give you kind of your overarching objective of that scene, but also your overarching tactic or your action, which is what you want to do, and then the different ways that you're going to do that. So for example, it might be, I want to amuse Joe so that Joe will smile. So that's your objective. That's what you want to gain in the scene. And then the second half of the sentence is your tactic. And I will jest, dance, and laugh to make this happen. One of the best things I've heard when it comes to tactics and action is to play the intention and then embrace the tension. So as you play the intention, what you're wanting to achieve, you are not solely going to get there on your own. You are going to try, but there is another character or another instance, something else that's going to stop you from getting that. That's going to create tension, which is really where all the drama happens, and that's what keeps an audience engaged. So we want to embrace that tension and play with it and maybe change your tactics. So you keep going after that objective, but you change the different way you're doing it and embrace whatever comes, and that is what makes good drama. That is what makes good cinema. So your homework today is actually less about self-taping and more about analyzing some of the greats again. So I want you to pick one of your favorite scenes in cinema history. It can be anything. It literally can be anything. But I want you to pick something that you are familiar with, something that you really enjoy watching, something where you think the acting is outstanding, it's superb quality. And I want you to go through and analyze what do you think the character's objective is? What do you think their obstacle is? And then look at the actor and how they're playing that and write down what are their actions and their tactics? What are the ways in which they are going after what they want? If you can analyze those things and start to learn how to watch something and then take notes for yourself, that really helps you learn, okay, what is it that translates on screen? What are some action words that I could use myself as an actor? And what are some ways in which people have paved a path for me to follow? Once you finish that, send me your notes. You can just send a Google document or a Word document or a PDF or even just handwritten notes, a picture of it, and let's talk about those scenes tomorrow.